Hey warriors, there's a moment in every person's life, a quiet, sacred moment when everything changes. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it doesn't come with warning bells or flashing lights. It's the moment you stop looking at the door, waiting for someone to walk through it and fix everything. It's the moment you stop checking your phone, hoping for the message that will make it all better. It's the moment you realize, deeply, painfully, beautifully, that no one is coming to save you. And in that moment, something breaks, but something else awakens. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." These words carry a truth that echoes through centuries, that our freedom, our power, our very life begins when we stop waiting and start walking. You see, we've been conditioned to believe in rescue. As children, someone always came when we cried. As students, teachers guided us. As adults, we still find ourselves unconsciously waiting for the perfect partner to complete us, for the dream job to find us, for motivation to strike us, for circumstances to align for us. But life doesn't work that way. The universe isn't withholding your breakthrough. The world isn't conspiring against you. And no hero is waiting in the wings to make your entrance easier. The truth? You are the hero you've been waiting for. This realization feels like cold water on your face at 3 in the morning. It's uncomfortable. It's sobering. It strips away the comfortable illusions we wrap ourselves in. But it's also the most liberating truth you'll ever encounter. Because when you stop waiting to be saved, you stop being a victim. When you stop expecting rescue, you start building your own ladder. When you stop looking for someone to light your path, you become the light itself. Today, we're going to walk through 9 profound truths about self-reliance, responsibility, and the raw power that awakens when you finally understand. This is your life, your responsibility, your beautiful burden to carry. And I promise you, by the end of this journey, you'll see that burden not as weight, but as wings. So, before we begin, I need you to do something. If this message is already resonating with you, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment with your thoughts. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel because we're building a community of people who refuse to wait for permission to live powerfully. And please, don't skip any part of this video. Every section builds on the last, and the transformation happens in the complete journey. If you're ready to stop waiting and start living, declare it below. I am the hero of my own story. Now, let's wake up together. Number 1. The weight of waiting will crush you before life ever does. Let me tell you something that nobody wants to admit. Waiting is not peaceful. It's not patient. It's not hopeful. Waiting, when it becomes a lifestyle, is a slow poison. Think about it. How much of your life have you spent in the waiting room of your own existence? Waiting for the right time, waiting to feel ready, waiting for circumstances to improve, waiting for confidence to arrive, waiting for fear to leave. And while you wait, life doesn't pause. It doesn't freeze the frame and hold space for you. It moves, it flows, it continues with or without your participation. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. He wasn't being morbid, he was being real. He was reminding us that time is not unlimited, and waiting for perfect conditions is the same as choosing not to live. Here's what happens when you make waiting your default mode. Your muscles of action atrophy, your confidence erodes, your dreams start to feel like fantasies rather than possibilities. You become a spectator in your own life, watching others take risks, make moves, fail, learn, and grow, while you sit safely in the audience, waiting for your turn that never quite comes. And the cruelest part? You start to resent the very people who took action. You call them lucky. You say they had advantages you didn't have. You create elaborate stories about why their success doesn't count and why your stillness is actually wisdom. But deep down, you know the truth. You're not waiting for the right moment. You're hiding from the uncomfortable truth that the right moment is always now, and now is terrifying because it demands something from you. Let me be clear, I'm not talking about strategic patience. I'm not talking about preparation or planning. Those are active processes. They involve learning, growing, building skills, gathering resources. I'm talking about passive waiting. The kind where you're not doing anything except hoping the universe will rearrange itself to suit your comfort level. That kind of waiting will crush you. It'll crush you because every day you wait, you're choosing to believe that you're not enough as you are right now. Every day you wait, you're telling yourself that you need permission from circumstances, from other people, from some cosmic green light before you can start. And that belief, that quiet, insidious belief that you need to be saved, will hollow you out from the inside. Here's what changes everything. Understanding that readiness is not a feeling that descends upon you. It's a decision you make despite the feelings. You don't wait to feel brave before you act bravely. You act bravely, and the feeling follows. You don't wait to feel confident before you take the step. You take the step, and confidence builds with each one. The people you admire, the ones who seem to have it all figured out. They didn't wait to feel ready. They didn't wait for certainty. They decided that the discomfort of action was preferable to the slow death of endless waiting. They realized that the weight of waiting, the anxiety of what if, the regret of if only, the burden of postponed dreams, that weight is far heavier than the temporary discomfort of taking imperfect action. So, ask yourself right now, what am I waiting for? Is it money? You can start small. Is it time? You can find 15 minutes. Is it knowledge? You can learn while you do. Is it permission? You can give it to yourself. Is it confidence? You can act without it and build it through action. There is no cavalry coming. There is no perfect moment arriving. There is only you, right now, with whatever you have, in whatever circumstances you're in. And that's not a tragedy. That's your liberation. Because the moment you stop waiting to be saved is the moment you discover you never needed saving in the first place. You needed activation. You needed to give yourself permission to be imperfect, to be scared, to be uncertain, and to move anyway. The weight of waiting will crush you before life ever does. But the lightness of action, even small action, will lift you before success ever does. Let me hear your commitment. Type this in the comments. I choose action over endless waiting. Number 2, your pain is not a punishment, it's a promotion. Here's a hard truth that will change everything once you accept it. Nobody is coming to remove your pain. Nobody is coming to erase your struggles. Nobody is coming to make your life easier. And here's the part that might shock you. That's actually good news. Because pain is not what you think it is. We've been taught to see pain as evidence that something is wrong. We've been conditioned to believe that suffering means we're off track, that struggle means we're failing, that difficulty is a sign we should give up or wait for rescue. Stoics understood that pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." He wasn't speaking theoretically. This was a man who faced exile, loss, betrayal, and ultimately death by forced suicide. He knew pain intimately, and he discovered that it wasn't destroying him, it was forging him. Think about every person you deeply respect, every person whose character you admire, every person who radiates genuine strength and wisdom. Now think about their story. What do you find? You don't find ease. You don't find comfort. You don't find a smooth path with no obstacles. You find pain they didn't run from. You find struggles they faced head-on. You find moments when they had every reason to quit, to wait for rescue, to blame circumstances. But they chose differently. They chose to see their pain not as evidence of their weakness, but as an invitation to discover their strength. Here's what happens when you stop waiting for someone to save you from your pain. You start asking different questions. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of, "When will this end?" you ask, "Who am I becoming through this?" Instead of, "Who can fix this for me?" you ask, "What can I do right now?" These questions transform everything because they shift you from victim to participant, from passenger to driver, from someone life happens to, into someone who happens to life. Let me be honest with you. Right now, you're probably facing something difficult. Maybe it's financial stress. Maybe it's a relationship that's falling apart. Maybe it's a career that's stalled. Maybe it's a health challenge. Maybe it's loneliness. Maybe it's the crushing weight of feeling like you've wasted time and it's too late to change. And you might be looking around, hoping someone will notice, hoping someone will step in, hoping circumstances will shift, hoping the universe will finally cut you a break. But what if the universe is cutting you a break right now and it just doesn't look the way you expected? What if this pain is not a punishment but a promotion? What if you're not being held back but pushed forward? What if this difficulty is not evidence that you're on the wrong path, but confirmation that you're on the exact path that will make you into who you need to become? The strongest steel goes through the hottest fire. The most beautiful diamonds endure the most intense pressure. The deepest wisdom comes from the hardest lessons. And you are being forged right now, not because you're cursed, not because you're unlucky, not because someone failed to save you, but because life trusts you with this. Because your soul called for growth, and growth requires resistance. Because the person you're meant to become can only emerge through the fire you're currently in. Here's the practical truth. You can't control what happens to you. You can't control the pain that arrives. You can't control the struggles that show up uninvited. But you can control what you do with it. You can let it embitter you or let it better you. You can let it close your heart or break it open. You can let it make you cynical or make you compassionate. You can let it convince you that you're a victim or reveal to you that you're a warrior. The choice is yours, not someone else's. Yours. And nobody can make that choice for you. No rescuer can swoop in and choose on your behalf how you respond to your pain. This is your power. This is your freedom. This is the awakening that happens when you realize no one's coming to save you. You stop waiting for the pain to end, and you start using it. You stop hoping for easier circumstances, and you start building stronger character. You stop looking for someone to carry you through the fire, and you walk through it yourself, knowing that what you'll find on the other side is not just relief, but transformation. Your pain is not random. It's not meaningless. It's not evidence that you've been abandoned. It's your promotion. It's your invitation. It's your opportunity to become someone you could never have become in comfort. So, stop waiting for rescue from your struggles. Stop hoping someone will make it easier. Stop looking for the exit door. Instead, look for the lesson. Look for the strength you're building. Look for the person you're becoming. Because that person, the one emerging from this fire, that's the real you. Strong, capable, unbreakable. And that person doesn't need saving. That person does the saving. This is your moment of power. Comment below. My pain is forging my power. Number 3. The permission you're waiting for doesn't exist. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. What are you waiting for permission to do? What dream are you waiting for someone to approve? What change are you waiting for someone to validate? What version of yourself are you waiting for someone to accept before you allow yourself to become it? The permission you're waiting for doesn't exist. It never did. It never will. Because nobody has the authority to grant you permission to live your life except you. Yet we spend years, sometimes decades, waiting. Waiting for parents to approve our choices. Waiting for partners to support our dreams. Waiting for bosses to recognize our value. Waiting for friends to validate our feelings. Waiting for society to accept who we truly are. And while we wait, we shrink. We dim our light. We silence our voice. We postpone our joy. We compromise our truth. All because we're waiting for a permission slip that isn't coming. Epictetus taught a radical concept, the dichotomy of control. He said, we must distinguish clearly between what is in our control and what is not. Other people's opinions, not in your control. Other people's approval, not in your control. Other people's acceptance, not in your control. But your choices, completely in your control. Your actions, completely in your control. Your commitment to your own path, completely in your control. When you wait for permission, you're giving away your control. You're handing your power to people who were never meant to hold it. You're making your peace, your progress, your very life dependent on variables you cannot control. That's not wisdom. That's self-abandonment. Think about the moments in your life when you finally stopped waiting and just did the thing. Maybe you ended a relationship that everyone thought was perfect. Maybe you started a business that people said would fail. Maybe you moved to a new city without a safety net. Maybe you chose a path that made no sense to anyone but you. How did that feel? Terrifying, yes. Uncertain, absolutely. But also alive, real, true. Because for once, you weren't waiting for the world to give you permission. You gave it to yourself. And here's what you discovered. The world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. People adjusted. Some supported you, some didn't. And life went on. More importantly, you went on. Stronger, more authentic, more aligned with who you actually are rather than who you thought you should be. The tragedy is that most people never take that step. They spend their entire lives in the waiting room, hoping someone will call their name, hoping someone will tell them it's okay to want what they want, to feel what they feel, to be who they are. And nobody ever does, not because people are cruel, but because people are busy waiting for their own permission slips. Everyone's in the same waiting room, looking at each other, hoping someone else has the authority to set them free. You already have the authority. You've always had it. You were born with it. You don't need your parents' permission to live differently than they did. You don't need your partner's permission to pursue your dreams. You don't need your friends' permission to outgrow old patterns. You don't need society's permission to define success on your own terms. You need your own permission. That's it. That's the only signature required on your life. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I make the wrong choice? Those are valid fears. But here's the question that matters more. What if you don't try? What if you spend your whole life waiting, and on your deathbed, you realize nobody was ever going to give you permission, and you missed your chance? Which regret is heavier? The regret of trying and failing, or the regret of never trying because you were waiting for someone else's approval? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your strength is not in getting permission. Your strength is in realizing you don't need it. Starting today, give yourself permission. Permission to try. Permission to fail. Permission to change your mind. Permission to want different things than you used to want. Permission to become someone new. Permission to disappoint people who want you to stay the same. Permission to prioritize your peace. permission to set boundaries, permission to dream bigger, permission to live authentically. Nobody else can grant you these permissions, and nobody else can take them away once you claim them. This is what it means to wake up. This is what happens when you realize no one's coming to save you, to validate you, to give you the green light. You become your own validator. You become your own green light. And you realize that's all you ever needed. Number 4. Responsibility is not a burden, it's your superpower. There's a word that makes most people flinch, a word that feels heavy, restrictive, even oppressive. That word is responsibility. We've been taught to see responsibility as a burden, as something that weighs us down, as the opposite of freedom. But what if everything we've been taught about responsibility is backwards? What if responsibility isn't what limits your freedom, but what creates it? Let me explain something that changed my entire perspective on life. When you take full responsibility for everything in your life, you reclaim your power. When you stop blaming circumstances, other people, your past, bad luck, or timing, you stop being powerless. Because here's the truth: blame and power cannot coexist. When you blame your childhood for your current struggles, you're saying your past has more power than your present choices. When you blame your boss for your unhappiness, you're saying someone else controls your emotional state. When you blame the economy for your financial situation, you're saying external circumstances determine your destiny. And maybe those things influenced your starting point. Maybe they made things harder. Maybe they were genuinely unfair. But the moment you use them as excuses, you trade your power for a story. You trade your agency for a victim narrative. You trade your potential for the comfort of not having to try. The ancient Stoics had a powerful concept they called amor fati, love of fate, not passive acceptance, not resignation, but the active choice to take ownership of everything that happens and transform it into fuel for growth. Epictetus, who himself was born into slavery and lived with a permanent physical disability, taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Think about that. A man who had every reason to blame his circumstances for his limitations chose instead to take full responsibility for his responses. And in doing so, he became one of the most influential philosophers in human history. He didn't wait for someone to free him from slavery to start thinking freely. He didn't wait for his circumstances to improve to start improving himself. He understood that responsibility was not his burden. It was his liberation. Here's what happens in your life when you embrace total responsibility. Everything changes. That job you hate. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for it to magically get better, and you either improve your situation there or create an exit plan. That relationship that drains you. When you take responsibility, you stop hoping they'll change, and you either set clear boundaries or make difficult decisions. That body you're unhappy with. When you take responsibility, you stop blaming your genetics or your schedule, and you start making different choices today. Responsibility means, if it's going to change, I have to change it. Not someday. Not when circumstances improve. Not when someone helps me. Now. With what I have. Where I am. And yes, that's uncomfortable. Yes, that's scary. Yes, that means you can't hide behind excuses anymore. But it also means something incredible. You're not powerless. You're not stuck. You're not at the mercy of forces beyond your control. You're the force. Let me be clear about something. Taking responsibility doesn't mean pretending you're responsible for things that genuinely weren't your fault. You're not responsible for how others treated you. You're not responsible for circumstances you were born into. You're not responsible for random bad luck. But you are responsible for what you do next. You're responsible for whether you let those experiences define you or refine you. You're responsible for whether you stay stuck in what happened or move toward what's possible. You're responsible for the meaning you assign to your experiences and the actions you take because of them. This is your superpower. When you own your life completely, the good, the bad, the fair, the unfair, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop waiting for it to. You stop looking around for who to blame and start looking forward at what to build. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect and start creating results in imperfect conditions. Think about the most empowered moments of your life, the times when you felt strongest, most alive, most capable. Were those the times when you were waiting for help, when you were blaming circumstances, when you were playing the victim? Nah, those were the times when you stepped up, when you took ownership, when you said, "This is my life, my choice, my responsibility, and I'm going to handle it." That feeling, that's what's available to you every single day when you choose responsibility over blame. Here's your challenge starting right now. For the next 24 hours, take complete ownership of everything in your life. When something goes wrong, don't look for who to blame. Ask what you can do about it. When you feel an emotion, don't blame external triggers. Ask what need of yours isn't being met and how you can meet it. When you face an obstacle, don't complain about how it shouldn't be there. Ask how you can overcome it or go around it. Just 24 hours of complete responsibility. No excuses, no victim stories, no blame. And notice what happens. Notice how much more powerful you feel. Notice how much more clear your path becomes. Notice how problems that seemed impossible suddenly have potential solutions. This is the awakening. This is what happens when you realize no one's coming to save you. You stop needing to be saved because you become the person who saves yourself. Responsibility is not a burden. It's the key to every door you thought was locked. It's the bridge to every version of yourself you thought was unreachable. It's not what holds you back. It's what sets you free. Claim your life back. Drop this affirmation. I own my life completely. Number 5. Your growth happens in the space where comfort used to be. Here's something nobody wants to hear, but everyone needs to understand. Comfort is not your friend. I know that sounds harsh. We're living in a world that worships comfort. We're told to find our comfort zone and stay there. We're encouraged to avoid stress, eliminate struggle, and make everything as easy as possible. But here's what they don't tell you. Every single thing worth having in your life exists outside your comfort zone. Every skill you're proud of. You were uncomfortable while learning it. Every relationship that matters. It required uncomfortable vulnerability. Every achievement you value. It demanded uncomfortable effort. Every version of yourself that you respect. It emerged through uncomfortable growth. Comfort doesn't build anything, it maintains, it preserves, it keeps you exactly where you are. And if you're waiting for someone to come and save you, what you're really waiting for is someone to make growth comfortable, someone to make change easy, someone to make transformation painless. That person doesn't exist. That process doesn't exist, because growth, by definition, happens in the space where comfort used to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about what he's saying. The very thing that makes you uncomfortable, that's not blocking your path. That is your path. The difficult conversation you're avoiding, that's where your confidence grows. The challenging project you're scared to start, that's where your competence expands. The vulnerability you're resisting, that's where your connections deepen. The fear you're running from, that's where your courage develops. You cannot grow and stay comfortable at the same time. It's impossible. They're opposite forces. And here's the trap most people fall into. They wait for growth to feel comfortable before they pursue it. They wait to feel ready, confident, certain, secure. But that's like waiting to feel strong before you lift weights. That's like waiting to feel skilled before you practice. That's like waiting to feel brave before you face your fears. The feeling comes after the action, not before it. Let me tell you what your comfort zone really is. It's not safety, it's not peace, it's not wisdom. Your comfort zone is simply the boundary of your familiar experiences. It's what you know, what you've done before, what feels predictable. And here's the critical part. Your comfort zone will expand or contract based on what you do. If you keep choosing comfort, it shrinks. You become less capable, not more. You become more fragile, not stronger. You become more fearful, not braver. But if you consistently step outside it, even in small ways, it expands. You become more capable, more resilient, more confident, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Think about someone you know who seems unshakable, someone who handles stress with grace, someone who faces challenges without falling apart, someone who adapts to change instead of resisting it. Did they become that person by avoiding discomfort, by staying safe, by waiting for someone to make life easier? Nah. They became that person by repeatedly choosing growth over comfort, by walking toward the discomfort instead of away from it, by expanding their capacity through voluntary challenge. They understood something crucial. Discomfort is temporary. Regret is permanent. The discomfort of trying something new fades. The discomfort of a difficult conversation passes. The discomfort of changing your habits lessens with time, but the regret of never trying, that stays. The regret of never speaking up, that echoes. The regret of staying small when you could have grown, that haunts you. Here's what changes when you stop waiting for someone to save you from discomfort. You start choosing it intentionally. You stop seeing discomfort as evidence that something's wrong and start seeing it as evidence that you're growing. You stop avoiding the hard things and start seeking them out, because you know that's where transformation lives. You have a hard conversation instead of hoping the problem disappears. You start the business instead of waiting for the perfect moment. You end the toxic relationship instead of hoping they change. You begin the workout program instead of waiting to feel motivated. You create the art instead of waiting to feel inspired. You choose the discomfort of growth over the comfort of stagnation. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop running from discomfort, it becomes less uncomfortable. When you stop resisting challenge, it becomes less challenging. Not because it changed, but because you did. Your capacity expanded, your resilience deepened, your strength increased. This is the person you become when you realize no one's coming to save you from discomfort. You become someone who doesn't need saving from it. You become someone who understands that discomfort is not the enemy of a good life. It's the price of admission. It's not what's in your way. It's the way itself. Starting today, make a different choice. When you feel that familiar discomfort, that urge to retreat, that desire to wait for it to get easier, recognize it for what it is. It's your growing edge. It's your opportunity. It's your invitation to become more and step toward it. Not because it feels good, but because you know that on the other side of that discomfort is a version of you that you haven't met yet. A version that's stronger, braver, more capable, more alive. That version is waiting. Not for rescue, but for you to show up. Are you ready to grow? Prove it by commenting, "I choose growth over comfort." Number 6. The people you're waiting to change never will, until you change first. This one's going to hurt, but it needs to be said. You're waiting for people to change. You're waiting for them to see you differently, to treat you better, to respect your boundaries, to appreciate your worth, to give you what you deserve. And while you wait, you stay stuck, you stay small, you stay silent. You stay in situations that drain you, hoping that somehow, someday, they'll wake up and be different. But here's the brutal truth. The people you're waiting to change, they're not going to change just because you need them to. Not your parents, not your partner, not your boss, not your friends, not your children. They're going to change only if and when they decide to. And that decision has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. So what does that mean for you? It means you have two choices. You can keep waiting, keep hoping, keep suffering, or you can change yourself. Change your response, change your boundaries, change your expectations, change your situation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Read that again. The pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. That doesn't mean your feelings aren't valid. It doesn't mean people haven't wronged you. It doesn't mean you should accept mistreatment. It means your power doesn't lie in changing them. Your power lies in changing your relationship to the situation. Think about the relationships in your life that cause you the most pain. Really think about them. How long have you been waiting for that person to change? How many conversations have you had where you explained how their behavior affects you? How many times have you given them another chance, hoping this time will be different? And how many times has anything actually changed? If you're honest with yourself, probably not many. Because here's what you've been doing. You've been trying to control something that isn't in your control. You can't control how other people treat you. You can't control whether they respect you. You can't control whether they see your value. You can't control their awareness, their growth, their choices. But you can control something far more powerful: how you respond, what you accept, what boundaries you set, what you're willing to tolerate, when you stay and when you walk away. This is the shift that changes everything. When you stop waiting for them to treat you better and start treating yourself better, everything shifts. When you stop waiting for them to respect your boundaries and start enforcing them, the dynamic changes. When you stop waiting for them to see your worth and start honoring it yourself, you attract different energy. Here's what happens. Either they rise to meet your new standard, or they reveal that they never will. And both outcomes are valuable information. If they rise to meet you, the relationship transforms. If they don't, you've learned everything you need to know, and you can make an informed decision about whether that relationship serves your highest good. But neither outcome can happen as long as you're waiting for them to change while you stay the same. Let me give you some hard examples. That parent who constantly criticizes you, they're not suddenly going to become supportive just because you need them to be. But you can stop seeking their approval and start validating yourself. You can limit your exposure to their criticism. You can stop explaining yourself and start living your truth regardless of their opinion. That partner who doesn't meet your emotional needs, they're not going to magically wake up one day and become emotionally available just because you've been patient. But you can clearly communicate what you need. You can stop settling for breadcrumbs. You can make decisions about what kind of partnership you're willing to accept. That friend who only calls when they need something. They're not going to suddenly become reciprocal just because you've been loyal. But you can stop dropping everything for them. You can match their energy. You can invest in relationships that actually nourish you. That boss who doesn't value your contributions, they're not going to suddenly recognize your worth just because you keep working harder. But you can document your achievements. You can ask for what you deserve. You can explore other opportunities where your talents are appreciated. Do you see the pattern? In every scenario, you're not waiting for them to change. You're changing your response. You're changing your behavior. You're changing what you accept. And this is terrifying because it means taking action. It means having difficult conversations. It means setting boundaries that might upset people. It means potentially losing relationships that aren't healthy anyway. It means facing the discomfort you've been avoiding by waiting and hoping, but it also means something beautiful. You reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of other people's choices and start being the author of your own experience. You stop waiting for external validation and start creating internal peace. You stop hoping for rescue and start doing the rescuing yourself. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." How much are you suffering right now in the imagination of who these people could be, should be, might become, instead of accepting who they actually are right now? And how much freedom would you experience if you stopped waiting for them to be different and started making decisions based on reality instead of potential? This doesn't mean giving up on people. It doesn't mean being cold or unforgiving. It doesn't mean people can't grow. It means understanding that their growth is their responsibility, not yours. Their choices are theirs to make, not yours to control. Their journey is theirs to walk, not yours to force. Your responsibility is you, your boundaries, your standards, your peace, your growth, your life. When you accept this, when you really accept this, something remarkable happens. You stop attracting people who need to be fixed. You stop staying in situations that require others to change before you can be happy. You stop giving your power away to people who don't know what to do with it. And you start showing up differently, clearer, stronger, more aligned with your truth. Some people will step up to meet you there, some won't. Both are okay. Because you're no longer waiting, you're no longer hoping, you're no longer stuck, you're moving, you're choosing, you're living. And that's the whole point. Stop waiting for others to change. Declare below, I change myself, not others. Number 7. Waiting for certainty is choosing to stay paralyzed. Let me tell you about the most expensive word in the human language. When. When I have enough money. When I feel more confident. When the timing is right. When I know it'll work out. When I'm absolutely sure. When is the word we use to disguise our fear as wisdom. It's how we convince ourselves that waiting is strategic when it's really just safe. And here's what nobody tells you. Certainty is an illusion. It doesn't exist. It never has. It never will. Every single person who ever did anything significant did it without certainty. Every entrepreneur who started a business, every artist who created something new, every person who fell in love, every individual who changed their life, they didn't have guarantees. They didn't have certainty. They didn't know it would work out. They just decided that the possibility was worth more than the paralysis. And that's the choice you're facing right now. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Not, first wait until you're certain. Not, first wait until all conditions are perfect. Not, first wait until someone guarantees success. First decide, then do. But we've become addicted to certainty. We want to know the outcome before we take the step. We want to see the entire staircase before we take the first step. We want a guarantee of success before we risk failure. And so we wait and wait and wait. We research endlessly. We plan obsessively. We gather more information. We seek more advice. We wait for more signs. We convince ourselves we're being responsible, being smart, being careful. But really, we're being scared. And there's nothing wrong with being scared. Fear is human. Fear is natural. Fear is information. But waiting for fear to disappear before you act, That's not wisdom, that's self-sabotage. Because fear doesn't disappear when you're on the edge of growth. It actually intensifies. The bigger the opportunity, the bigger the fear. The more meaningful the change, the more terrifying it feels. If you're waiting to feel certain before you act, you're waiting for something that will never come. Think about the last time you waited for certainty. What happened? Did certainty arrive, or did you just find new reasons to wait? Did the fear go away, or did you just get more comfortable with staying stuck? Here's the pattern. When you wait for certainty, your mind doesn't use that time to build confidence. It uses that time to build a case for why you shouldn't try. It shows you all the ways it could go wrong. It reminds you of past failures. It compares you to people who are further ahead. It invents obstacles that don't even exist yet. Your mind, trying to protect you from discomfort, actually creates more suffering by keeping you paralyzed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." You can't control whether things will work out. You can't control all the variables. You can't eliminate all the risks, but you can control your decision to try anyway. You can control your willingness to start before you're ready. You can control your courage to act despite uncertainty. You can control your commitment to learn and adjust as you go. And here's the secret that changes everything. Certainty doesn't come before action. It comes through action. You don't become certain by thinking about it more. You become certain by doing it, learning from it, adjusting and continuing. Every expert was once a beginner who felt uncertain. Every successful person faced moments where they didn't know if it would work. Every person you admire took steps into the unknown. The difference between them and people who stay stuck isn't that they had more certainty. It's that they acted despite having less. They understood that waiting for perfect conditions means never starting. They understood that trying and failing is better than never trying at all. They understood that regret weighs more than risk. So, let me ask you, what are you waiting to be certain about? Starting that business? You'll never be certain it'll succeed. But you can be certain that if you don't try, you'll never know. Leaving that job? You'll never be certain the next opportunity is perfect. But you can be certain that staying somewhere that drains you is slowly killing your spirit. Ending that relationship? You'll never be certain you're making the right choice. But you can be certain that staying in something that doesn't serve you is a choice too. Moving to that city? You'll never be certain you'll love it. But you can be certain that never exploring your possibilities is a kind of death. Starting that creative project? You'll never be certain people will love it. But you can be certain that never expressing yourself is its own kind of suffering. Do you see the pattern? You're never going to be certain about the outcome, but you can be certain about the cost of waiting, the cost of your dreams deferred, the cost of your potential unrealized, the cost of your life lived in the waiting room instead of the arena. That cost is certain. That cost is guaranteed. That cost is already accumulating. The Stoics called it memento mori. Remember death. Not to be morbid, but to be real. Your time is limited. Your opportunities are finite. Your life is happening right now, not when you're certain. Every day you wait for certainty is a day you're choosing paralysis over possibility. A day you're choosing fear over freedom. A day you're choosing the illusion of safety over the reality of living. Starting today, make a different choice. Act with uncertainty. Move with doubt. Start before you're ready. Not recklessly, not carelessly, but courageously. Take the step. Have the conversation, make the decision, start the thing, and then, instead of waiting for certainty, build it through action. Learn as you go, adjust as needed. Trust yourself to handle whatever comes, because here's the ultimate truth. You can't control the outcome, but you can trust yourself to handle it. And that's the only certainty you ever needed. Take the leap with me. Write this commitment. I act despite uncertainty. Number 8. Your past doesn't define you, your response to it does. There's a story you've been telling yourself. A story about who you are based on what happened to you. Maybe it's a story about trauma, about loss, about rejection, about failure, about how you were treated, about what you didn't get, about doors that closed, about people who left, about chances you missed. And that story has become your identity. It's become the reason why you can't, why you're stuck, why things are the way they are, why you're waiting for someone to come and rewrite it for you. But here's the truth you need to hear. Your past is a fact, but it doesn't have to be your future. What happened to you is real. The pain is valid. The injustice is acknowledged. The difficulty is recognized. But none of it defines what you do next. None of it controls who you become unless you let it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Our life is what our thoughts make it. Not what our circumstances make it. Not what our past makes it. Not what other people make it. What our thoughts make it." And right now, your thoughts might be trapped in the past. Trapped in what was done to you. Trapped in who you were. Trapped in how things went wrong. And as long as your thoughts stay there, you stay there. But the moment you shift your focus from what happened to you to what you're going to do about it, everything changes. Let me be clear. I'm not telling you to pretend the past didn't happen. I'm not telling you to minimize your pain. I'm not telling you that your experiences don't matter. I'm telling you that your past is not your prison unless you choose to stay locked in it. Think about every person who has overcome something difficult. Every person who rose from poverty. Every person who healed from abuse. Every person who rebuilt after loss. Every person who succeeded after failure. They all had a past. They all had pain. They all had reasons to stay stuck, to stay bitter, to stay waiting for someone to come fix what was broken. But they made a different choice. They chose to let their past be a chapter, not the whole book. They chose to let it be part of their story, not the ending of it. They chose to let it inform them without defining them. And that choice, that's your power. Seneca wrote, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." How much are you suffering right now because you're still living in past pain? How much energy are you spending replaying old scenes, rehearsing old wounds, reinforcing old narratives? And what could you create if you redirected that energy toward building something new? Here's what nobody tells you about the past. It only has the power you give it. Yes, it shaped you. Yes, it influenced you. Yes, it left marks. But those marks don't have to be scars that limit you. They can be proof that you survived. Evidence that you're stronger than what tried to break you. The same past can create two completely different futures depending on how you interpret it. One person experiences rejection and decides they're unlovable. Another experiences rejection and decides they haven't found their people yet. One person experiences failure and decides they're incapable. Another experiences failure and decides they're learning. One person experiences trauma and decides they're broken. Another experiences trauma and decides they're being rebuilt into something stronger. Same past, different interpretation, different future. Your interpretation is your choice, and nobody can make that choice for you. Nobody can come and save you from your past. Nobody can rewrite what happened, but you can rewrite what it means. You can decide that your difficult childhood made you resilient instead of damaged. You can decide that your failures taught you wisdom instead of proving your inadequacy. You can decide that your losses opened space for something new instead of just taking something away. You can decide that everything you've been through wasn't happening to you. it was happening for you. Not because it was fair, not because it was right, not because it didn't hurt, but because you're choosing to use it as fuel instead of letting it be an anchor. Here's the practical truth. You can't change your past. You spent zero control over what happened back then, but you have complete control over what you do with it now. You can let it be your excuse or your education, your limitation or your launch pad, your reason to quit or your reason to fight harder. Right now, today, you get to decide, am I going to keep waiting for someone to undo what was done? Am I going to keep hoping for an apology that might never come? Am I going to keep living as if my past has more power than my present? Or am I going to accept what happened, grieve what needs to be grieved, learn what needs to be learned, and then step into the future I'm capable of creating? Because here's what happens when you finally release the past. You become available for the present. You become available for growth. You become available for joy. You become available for opportunities that couldn't reach you while you were turned around, staring at what used to be. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your past happened. That's done. That's complete. That chapter is written. But your reaction to it? That's happening right now. That's ongoing. That's where your power lives. Are you reacting by staying stuck? By building walls? By pushing away anything good because you're afraid it'll hurt like before? Or are you reacting by healing, by growing, by becoming someone who not only survived but transformed? The choice is yours, not your parents' choice, not your ex's choice, not your former boss's choice, not society's choice, yours. And when you realize that no one is coming to save you from your past, you realize something liberating. You don't need saving from it. You need to stop using it as a reason to stay small. Your past doesn't define you. Your resilience does. Your courage does. Your choice to keep going despite everything does. So stop waiting for your past to change. It won't. Stop waiting for someone to come and erase it. They can't. Instead, change your relationship with it. Use it. Learn from it. Let it make you wiser, stronger, deeper, more compassionate. And then, let it go. Not because it didn't matter, but because what you do next matters more. Number 9. The life you want starts the moment you stop waiting. We've walked a long road together through this message. We've examined the weight of waiting, the power of responsibility, the necessity of discomfort, and the freedom that comes from releasing the illusion that someone is coming to save you. And now we arrive at the most important moment, the moment you decide. Because everything we've talked about means nothing if it stays as information. It has to become transformation. It has to move from understanding to action. And that action starts with one simple, powerful decision. I'm done waiting. Done waiting for perfect conditions. Done waiting for certainty. Done waiting for permission. Done waiting for someone to validate me, fix me, complete me, or save me. Done waiting for my life to start. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote something that should shake every person awake. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Read that again. We waste a lot of it. How much of your life have you wasted waiting? Waiting for the right time, waiting for the right person, waiting for the right circumstances, waiting to feel ready, waiting to be chosen, waiting for your turn. And while you waited, what happened? Time passed. Opportunities moved on. Other people took the chances you were too afraid to take. Life continued with or without your participation. Not because you weren't good enough, not because you weren't deserving, but because you were waiting. And waiting is not a strategy. It's not patience. It's not wisdom. Waiting is just fear, dressed up in reasonable clothing. But here's the beautiful truth. The moment you stop waiting, everything becomes possible. Not easy, not guaranteed, not risk-free, but possible. The life you want, the career that excites you, the relationship that fulfills you, the body that honors you, the peace that sustains you, the purpose that drives you. It all starts the moment you stop waiting for it to come to you and start moving toward it. Right now, today, this moment. Not when you have more money, not when you have more time, not when you feel more confident, not when someone gives you permission. Now, with what you have, where you are, as you are. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Stop arguing with yourself about when you'll be ready. Stop debating whether conditions are right. Stop negotiating with fear about whether it's safe. Just start. Start the business with the resources you have now. Start the workout with the body you have now. Start the creative project with the skills you have now. Start the healing with the awareness you have now. Start the change with the courage you can muster now. Because here's what nobody tells you. You don't need everything figured out to start. You don't need the whole plan mapped out. You don't need to know exactly how it's going to work. You just need to take the first step, and then the next one, and then the next one. The path reveals itself to those who walk it, not to those who stand at the beginning waiting for a map. Think about this moment right now as a door. On one side of this door is your old life. The life of waiting, the life of hoping, the life of making excuses, the life of playing small, the life of avoiding discomfort, the life of blaming circumstances. On the other side of this door is something different, not perfect, not without challenges, not guaranteed to be easy, but alive, real, yours. A life where you're the author, not just a character waiting to be written. A life where you're the creator, not just a consumer. A life where you're the one who decides, who moves, who tries, who fails, who learns, who grows, who becomes. Which side of the door do you want to be on? Because you can't stand in the doorway forever. You can't keep one foot in waiting and one foot in doing. You have to choose. And I need you to understand something. This choice, this moment, it's not a one-time thing. You're going to have to choose again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, because old patterns are comfortable. Fear will show up again. Doubt will whisper. Circumstances will provide new excuses. And every single time you'll have to choose, do I wait or do I move? But here's what makes it easier. Every time you choose to move despite the fear, you build evidence that you can. Every time you choose action over waiting, you strengthen that muscle. Every time you choose to save yourself instead of waiting for rescue, you prove to yourself that you're capable, and slowly, gradually, powerfully, you become someone who doesn't wait anymore. You become someone who creates, who initiates, who acts. You become the person you've been waiting for. Epictetus said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? How long? Haven't you waited long enough? Haven't you spent enough time hoping things would magically improve? Haven't you given enough power to circumstances, to other people, to perfect timing? What if today is the day you take it all back? What if today is the day you decide that your life is too precious to waste waiting, that your dreams are too important to keep postponing, that your potential is too valuable to leave unexpressed? What if today is the day you realize that no one is coming, and that's exactly what needed to happen for you to finally step into your power? The life you want is not somewhere in the future, waiting for you to become worthy of it. It's right here, right now, waiting for you to claim it. Not perfectly, not effortlessly, but authentically. So stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop making excuses. Start today, start imperfectly, start scared, but start. Because the moment you do, you'll realize something profound. You were never waiting for someone to save you. You were waiting for permission to save yourself. And that permission, you just gave it. This is your awakening moment. Type below, "My life starts now, not someday." If you've made it this far, something in you is ready. Ready to stop waiting. Ready to stop hoping someone else will fix what only you can change. Ready to step into the truth that's been waiting for you all along. No one is coming to save you. Not because you're not worth saving, but because you don't need saving. You need awakening. You need activation. You need to remember that everything you've been waiting for already lives inside you. The strength to face your pain, the courage to leave what's comfortable, the wisdom to take responsibility, the power to change your story, the faith to move without certainty. It's all there. It's always been there. You were just waiting for permission to use it. Consider this your permission slip. Consider this your wake-up call. Consider this the moment everything changes. Not because your circumstances changed, but because you did. You stopped waiting and started walking. You stopped hoping and started doing. You stopped wishing for rescue and started becoming the hero of your own story. This is your life. Your one, beautiful, finite, precious life. And it's happening right now. Not someday. Not when everything's perfect. Not when you're finally ready. Now. So, take the step. Make the choice. Start the journey. Your future self is waiting for you to show up. And before you go, I need you to do something. If this message moved you, if it woke something up inside you, don't let it end here. Hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to this channel so we can continue this journey together. Because we're building something here. A community of people who refuse to wait, who refuse to play small, who refuse to let fear write their story, and we need you in it. If this message changed something in you, let the world know. Comment, "I am awake and I am ready." Now go. Stop waiting. Start living. Your life is calling.